second question in your peacemaking honor is defining or identify the 4 causes of conflict as described in the Bible. Now there's 4 passages that is written there for you. Now, what is a cause of conflict? Is what happened? What happened that caused somebody to fight? So the first one is Acts 15. Now, if you read the story there, I want you to read the story and think about what has happened here. And I want you to describe that a little bit. Now, first of all, what happened there? The cause of conflict there is circumcision, right? The Gentiles was going to be accepted into the church. The Jews thought, no, you're not going to be accepted unless you are circumcised. And Paul and Peter and the disciples had to deal with it because there were some people that actually caused trouble there. Now see what you can identify there in that passage, and work with it in terms of saying, look, what was the cause there. The second one is 1 Corinthians 12. Now you know the 1 Corinthians 12 story is about the different parts of the body. Remember, Paul says that the foot cannot be like the eye, and the eye cannot be like the mouth, or whatever he describes there. Now, what are the causes there in that conflict? Now, identify for me, in that church, there's a situation where some feel that they are better than others. Some feel we are leaders, we should be treated better. Others feel, we just sweep the floor. Why aren't we treated better? Those are the causes, and sometimes those things causes conflict in situations where people feel that they are better, perhaps more intelligent, more artistic, perhaps more talented, and there's that thing that happens there. So think about, and again, I want you again to give some advice, what you think can happen in those scenarios. What advice would you give those people? The third one is Genesis 13 verse 1 to 12. Now that's the story about land and property, right? That's sometimes also a situation that happens in people's life. This is mine and that is mine, right? And there's a fight between those things, especially in the nations of the world today, where people come to, in the past history, came to occupy a piece of land, and they fight over it. Now, Lot and Abram, there was this struggle between their families over property, and so Abram said to Lot, listen, I think we must just separate. You go that way, you choose whatever land you want, I'll go this way, I'll choose whatever land you want, and then we sort out the conflict. Now again, what's the cause there? You think about that, and then I want you to also consider, what advice would you give Abram or even Lot to settle that particular conflict? The last one is a conflict about greed. Now again, greed, it's what is more important for somebody else. James says, where do wars and fights come from? Do they come from your desires for pleasure that war in your members? Now, greed and pleasurable things, those cause conflict because, people argue, man, I like that. And if I like that, I should get it. And you know what the Bible says, thou shalt not covet another person's property or goods. And this is the cause of conflict there. Pride and the desire for pleasure. Now, I want you to identify and write a few lines for me there. And then again, at the bottom, write a line to say, what advice would you give James or people who are going through that situation, how they can deal with that particular conflict? Okay, so it's 4 things for you. 1, what happens in Genesis, in Corinthians, in James, and the first one that we have there in Acts. And remember, please put in there, what advice would you give those people in order to deal with the conflict? Okay, good luck. God bless you.